Haven't seen you in a while. Hey guys, it's Luke, and I have been away for a while, and I apologize. I just need some time and some space. I'm back. Hi. I'll be posting every week. This video is going to be short because I have a lot of uni work to do, so I just thought I'd just quickly put this out there so that people don't think that I just disappeared. I haven't. I'm still here. Hi. So this week's topic is bum hair, I think, but I'm not going to talk about that because I missed a really good topic, and I'm really annoyed that I did, but it was like right in the middle of a whole bunch of stuff, so whatever, I'm going to talk about that anyway, and that is airport security. And the reason I'm talking about that is because I travel a lot, and I have traveled a lot, and I've experienced some interesting things traveling. I'm gonna give you sort of like a brief rundown of what sort of happened to me and my situation with traveling. So once I came out, once I started hormones and started like changing all my documents, I changed my name and everything like that. I had to get that all changed legally, obviously. So I had my name legally changed, but I need to change my documents as well. Now I have like all my Australian documents, and I've got my passport as well as my Hong Kong permanent resident card. I need to renew my Hong Kong ID anyway. So you have a card from 11 to 17 and a card from 18 to however long. Anyway, so I had to get my card redone anyway because I turned 18. The thing about Hong Kong is you can't change your gender marker until you've had bottom surgery. And by that they don't mean just like any bottom surgery. Like, it has to be specific, there has to be guidelines, you have to be assessed, you need to be like ticked off. So that's really frustrating and that's really difficult. But the main problem with that is not all countries have that rule. Australia doesn't have that rule with their passports. In fact, if you want to get your passport changed in Australia, and I'm going to post a video on this on transition through the world, but if you want to change your gender marker on your passport, you just need a letter from your doctor that is basically explaining, oh, this person is transitioning and they're transitioning to the gender of male, for example, for me. So my passport has M on it. Hong Kong permanent resident card has F on it. My name had changed, so the system was a bit dodgy because it was still getting used to the fact that I had a new name on the card system. So, and I didn't have the card with me because by the time it took for it to process, I was back in Australia. As is like the single most important document in Hong Kong. They don't post this shit. You have to pick it up. You have to go and pick it up, or you need to get someone else who's like authorized to pick it up for you, and they've got to fill in a whole bunch of forms and whatever. But anyway, I went to go. I was coming back into the country because I had a new passport. I didn't have a stamp saying that I was a permanent resident, so they didn't know I was a permanent resident. And obviously, I don't come across as a permanent resident to customs. I explained and I told them my permanent resident card number, and they searched me up and it came up with my birth name and female, and then they were like, well, hang on, that's not you. And I was like, yes it is. Then they were like, oh, well, it's not you, like it says here like this name and this gender, and you're not this name and this gender. And I was like, well, about that. I ended up getting a picture of my permanent resident card sent to me from like my family. I basically was like, oh, can you please send this to me just in case anything goes wrong. Thank goodness I did that. So I had a picture of my card, and I went there, and then they were like, okay, can you please come with me? So they took me into a little side room. In there I was basically left, you know, like in those border security documentaries where you like go into the room and you like have to sit there. It was like that. It was really terrifying, actually. I was kind of scared that I wasn't going to be allowed in the country. I was a bit stressed, and like my parents were waiting, and I just didn't really know what was going on. I couldn't contact anyone. I had no access to the internet, no access to anything. So I was kind of like sitting there like, okay, how long are they going to keep me here? Which they came over and they said, okay, are you this person? I said, well, technically no. I pulled out my birth certificate, which has my name changed, recognized on it. I said, well, this is my birth certificate. As you can see, I've changed my name from this to this. Then they looked at my passport and said, why does your passport say M if your card says F? And I said, that's your fault. Like, it's not my fault that you're not letting me change it. And then they go, you need to change it. You need to go to the office and change it. And I was like, I've tried, but they won't let me. So the situation I have now is some of my identification to get me into the country is female, and some of it is male. And I can't change the other one without bottom surgery, which is like way further off for me, so I can't do that. I'm not changing my passport back to F, because why the hell would I do that? So it's kind of like a bit like, they weren't too rude about it, but they were a bit like confused. Like, they kind of just they made me stay there for an uncomfortable amount of time, and I was a bit like, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to let me into the country or not? And then they're like, oh, well, we need to see. And that stressed me out, because here I was sitting in limbo between Hong Kong and like the planes. I was stressed out that they weren't going to let me in, that they'd send me back to Australia. Like, I didn't know I had no idea what they were going to do. I had all the documentation I needed except for my permanent resident card. It all got solved. I ended up staying there for, I can't remember how long I was there for. It all kind of was a bit of a blur, and I was a bit like stressed out. Be careful when it comes to traveling and your documents are kind of in the middle stage, or if you're not presenting as the gender that is not on your passport / documentation, that can be difficult. And same, that can happen with name as well. Like, I remember I was flying once as well, another time, this was domestic, and I was still like, my name was like still my birth name legally, and so they scanned my card, but because I was presenting masculinely and they perceived me as male, they were like, hang on a second, is this actually you? And I had to like take out all of my documentation and be like, this and this and this. And then they were like, oh, so you're a chick? And I was like, well, no, but like my name isn't legally changed yet. And then they were like, oh. I was actually on the flight and they came up to me and they apologized, and it was really awkward because there was like all these people here and I was like, can you just like stop? Just leave it alone. Like, I don't care. Just leave me alone. But just be careful with documentation, because if your documentation doesn't match your presentation, or if your documentation doesn't match your other documentation, it can cause you to be in a bit of a pickle. So whenever you're traveling, make sure that you have all of the documentation you possibly need. If your name has been legally changed, carry your birth certificate with you, or like your proof of name change with you, or like have like a folder that you keep with you that's like all of your like photocopies of everything, so that like when you travel you've just got it there in case. I still take my birth certificate with me every single time, just in case, because I don't want anything to go wrong. It's not an issue now because everything's sort of been changed except for the gender on my ID card, but that really doesn't matter anymore because I can just get in. I don't need to like show it to customs anymore. And this also goes for when you're taking testosterone or hormones, whatever. Make sure you've got a letter from your doctor saying that you are allowed to carry these hormones, because if you don't, shit could get difficult. Certain countries are very strict with hormones, so make sure you've got a letter with all your stuff and your prescription. So a prescription, your letter, and all of everything. Just keep it all together so that if you have to declare anything, you've got it ready to go, because you don't want to be stuck in a position in another country without your hormones, because that is a stressful situation to be in. And I can't imagine that would be good, especially if you don't have your script and you can't get a filled prescription, or like if you go to a country and T's different, like Australia's got a really unique testosterone. I don't think it's anywhere else, maybe New Zealand, but besides that. So if I were to go to America and they were to take my T, I'm screwed because your T's different to my T, so like, you know, I don't know what dose, and like it would just be very complicated. So make sure that you've got everything close, everything sorted, because that will make things run a lot smoother. That's all I'm going to talk about. Yes, I will be back. I'm going to try and be more regular. I am really, really sorry. I literally just went MIA for 4 weeks, and I probably should have warned you guys, but I just had a lot going on. I'd like starting uni again, and I just had a lot going on, and so I just needed some time, needed some space. I did say something, I did post something somewhere, but I don't know if it got to here. So if people didn't realize, I did say that it was going to happen, and I did try to arrange a sub, but it just didn't quite work out. So I don't really know what happened there, but yes, I'm back, and it's good to be back, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.